All right. Welcome back to episode part one
There we go.
of the Book Club Bros. Welcome back. My name is Chase. I'm here with Landon and Miguel, like always. And guys, we have started a new book, Imposter No More, Overcome Self-Doubt and Imposterism to Cultivate a Successful Career
There we go.
by Jill Stoddard. And we just read all the way up to page 57 was the first part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so guys, overall first thoughts, first impressions.
Man, honestly, first couple pages I was a little bored.
Really?
Not gonna lie to you guys.
You kind of regret?
Definitely-
You're like, oh man.
Yeah, I
my
was
bad,
just
guys.
like, oh man, like I hope the guys aren't too.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, I mean, it picked up. Once she started giving more examples of like certain specific things, I was like, okay, I've never heard that before, so it was a little bit better.
Yeah.
But those
Yeah.
first couple pages, I was just like, oh man,
First off, I'm just gonna
What's
jump
going
right
on?
to it. So, imposter syndrome,
yes,
definitely a no-no according to Jill.
exactly.
I didn't even realize I marked it out that I thought the book was it was part of the title, but it's literally crossed
Yeah,
out.
yep.
Like I literally midway through the book or through the
That's
chapters,
literally when I was setting it
I
up.
went back to look at it. I was like, I thought this thing was literally, did she write a book that's literally using a word she doesn't like? And then I saw it was crossed out.
I thought the book's title was Imposter Syndrome No
Same.
More.
Same.
It's just Imposter No More.
Yes. I'm glad you cleaned it up in the intro because last time
Oh,
when I
yeah,
introduced
okay.
the book, I said imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
No more.
I mean, I
Oh.
thought so too. When you know
But you
what's
can't know what you
side.
don't know.
And then
That's fair.
also, which is interesting, so I was when I was setting up this podcast, we're throwing in the description and stuff about it. Yeah, so basically, in short, Jill doesn't like the term imposter syndrome, even though it is the popular phrase of it. She more
The newly adopted phrase.
Yes.
It used to not be.
it used to be
I think it was what it was, like imposter, whatever you call a diagnosis.
Yeah.
Imposter something.
Wait,
What was
I
it?
think,
Gosh,
I think
It's like-
we'll,
we'll get to it.
we'll
We'll
get to
yeah.
it. But
But,
anyway, she goes
yeah.
with the new term of imposterism. So
Mhm.
when I was typing it up in the podcast, imposterism is not even a word,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought
what does
was
ism
interesting.
mean? It's just the feeling of like being
Um,
an imposter, right? It's like
No,
plagiarism.
ism is like being
Yeah.
or something. Means
Yeah.
like being.
Yeah, being
of-
an imposter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, basically.
but
breaking
like
the word down, yeah.
plagiarism is a word.
No,
Imposterism
right.
is not
so
a word.
It's just
When I was
literally
typing
not
it
a word.
in,
Yeah.
it flagged it as not
It's
a word.
not
I
a
was like,
word.
oh, really? But
Did
anyways,
she use the word in this book?
imposterism? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
was-
know.
oh,
Yeah.
But no, let's dive right in. But yeah, no, I agree with Miguel. I read the acknowledgments.
Oh, I didn't actually.
Yeah.
I was kind of crying. I was like, oh, geez, Miguel, what are we doing here?
yeah.
You guys read the
And then-
acknowledgements?
I
I
didn't.
did.
I
I
skipped
did.
it, but I mean,
It was
the
3
first couple,
pages.
like,
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It must not have been too bad, but
But
3 pages.
yeah, I know. I honestly, starting off, I thought it was a little slow, but some of the crazy points I saw were like on page 4 when she was just talking about herself.
mhm.
So Jill Stoddard, she says, I started and still run a multi-million-dollar business. I've published 3 books. I co-host a popular podcast with millions of downloads. I've done TEDx talks. I've presented dozens of organizations, but to this day, over 20 years later, I still worry about my dad. I still worry my dad is the only reason a mediocre applicant like me could have possibly gotten into a stellar program like that. And she's talking about her getting into, I think, Boston College or something like that for
Yes.
psychology,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
I think it's crazy to think that that she thinks like that, but it also like whenever I was reading that, I mean, this book is gonna trigger what I was telling Chase. I was like, this book triggers a lot of like, it's gonna give you. It almost reminds me of the 48 Laws of Power, where it's gonna give it to you in like a bunch of different ways to
Mhm.
try and like get you. Like if you're feeling, I don't want to jump ahead, but it gives you different ways of having an imposter type feeling.
Mhm.
Like we all experience stuff so differently that I mean, just whenever it comes to being able to present it in different formats and then latch onto the one that makes the most sense to you or how you feel like you're an imposter or whatever.
Yeah, no, I thought it was pretty interesting. And then also on page 5, which I thought was interesting, she pointed out that she goes, if you look to the places where imposter syndrome shows up most for you, you'll find that in the very same spot is what matters to you. The voice that tells you that you're not good enough, that you're a fraud, is doing so in an effort to protect you from failure and humiliation.
I highlighted that too.
That
I
was
mean,
very I was like, really?
It's kind of like fighter. It's almost like you just innate like reactions.
Yeah.
Like it's fight or flight. It's whatever it is necessarily for that.
But I had something on 8. But do you guys have anything else you want to talk about while we kind of come through? That was also something about this chapter seemed very long.
Yeah.
No, I told you that. I
Yeah,
told
That
you.
first one, yeah.
I was telling him. I was like, yeah, I had some friends in town, and I was like, this is the first. And I feel like this is a book. After I did it, like it's one where you can read it and set it down, and then come back to it. Compared to like the Thursday Murder Club, it's something where you sit down and like you get engulfed in the story and you want to keep going. So this one, I was just like, oh, I'm gonna spot read this like whenever I can. If I have some time, I'm just gonna try it. So I was reading. I was like, yeah, I got like 10 pages, 11. It was 12, 13. And I was like, when does this chapter end? So I like started scrolling ahead and I was like, this thing's 20 pages long. And it's like, for this book, it's not small font, I don't think you would say. And it's top to bottom, it's a bigger book. It's not small font.
Nah, it's definitely a lot
I
of
feel
words.
like it's standard.
Yeah.
Pretty
Pretty
standard.
standard.
Font, yeah.
Well, I do want to pick your guys' brains on the top of 5. She said, in fact, deep down, the majority of successful people question their professional legitimacy a good amount of the time. I just wonder what you guys thought about that.
Oh, where was that?
So on the top of page 5,
Oh,
it says
top of 5.
top of 5, it says, in fact, deep down,
Oh.
the majority of successful people question their professional legitimacy a good amount of the time.
I mean, I
Because-
kind of feel like I mean,
Well,
I
because
feel
even
like
in
that's
her,
right.
because even in her situation, right, I feel like you have to objectively be like, there is a element of luck involved. Like you have to have somebody in your life to have that connection. But I like the way, and this is a term that they use in sports a lot, is like luck. Just what luck necessarily is more so like when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
And then it's just like it all goes together. Like, of course, if you flip a coin, like that is luck or whatever it is. Like there's nothing there. But whenever you're talking about like, calculated, actual movements and stuff like that, or things you're trying to get accomplished, like luck, the people that get mad about the lucky people are probably not prepared, and it's making them more frustrated that they never
Right.
get lucky.
Right. Or the opportunity does present himself, and then they just it doesn't.
You don't
they
make the most of
exceed
it.
Yeah.
You don't make the most of it.
Yeah. And so then they don't seem like they're that lucky.
And
But,
it's crazy how that can put you off 2 different trajectories, right? It just for your whole life.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Did you have anything? I have something on 8 that I want to pick your guys'
I
brains
don't-
about.
I didn't have anything else. I mean, on page 6, that part where she was talking about, she says, "I'm not an athlete. You know that saying. It's just like riding a bike. Meaning, once you know how to do it, you will always be able to do it. Well, when I got back on my bike after a decade of not riding, I immediately crashed. Yet I had never once worried about being exposed as an incompetent cyclist." And then she goes on to talk about how like it's not necessarily the same, because it's like she talked about being a mother, like being a cyclist. It's like, okay, like I crashed riding my bike, like I don't really care about that because it's not important to me, but being a good mother to my kids is like something super important. So that's something that I think about and something that I'm conscious about. So I don't know, it's just interesting because that was just like another perspective
Yeah.
of being an imposter.
Right. And I think that goes hand in hand with what I brought up too, was just like how, it's about the very same spot of what matters to you. Yeah.
I think, sorry, because I know you said you were moving on to page 8. I realized what they were calling it. It's phenomenon.
Imposter
Imposter
phenomenon.
phenomenon is how
Yeah.
it started off.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought there was a thing that they called, because I highlighted something on 8. I don't know if you have kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
You can roll it then.
So is it the stat thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 70%.
So, so the first term was imposter phenomenon. And it says
Back in 78.
back in
Wow.
1978 by
Crazy.
doctors Pauline Clance and Susan Imes.
Mm-hmm.
But so they identified that imposter phenomenon or imposter syndrome or imposterism will affect up to 70% of us at some point of our lives. It was first thought to appear only in high-achieving women, but now is understood it can be far more widespread, perhaps particularly so among marginalized groups. And then I wanted to jump down to the other 30%. It says, among the rest of the non-imposters, those are guilty of a cognitive bias known as Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yo.
And I was like, yo, what? is
Did you,
this.
Dude, I highlighted this. Go ahead. I highlighted this and I just said, ouch.
Yeah, right. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a failure of self-awareness where people with limited competence wrongly overestimate their knowledge, skills, or abilities in a given area. Because these individuals are lacking competence, they are lacking the ability to recognize their own deficiencies and therefore don't seem to question whether they are legitimate or deserving of an inclusion in a group.
Here it comes.
In other words, they are not smart enough to know they are not smart.
Ouch.
What?
Ouch.
That's crazy.
I'm sitting there thinking like,
That's a technical
is
term of
that
like what
me?
you
Like,
realize
how do you
though sometimes.
know?
No,
But, like,
okay, right.
how do you know that you're not smart enough to know that you're not smart?
Yeah.
I think that could be, you know, for sometimes I think that could either be people, but that could even be a person in different scenarios. You're either the smartest person in the room and then you go to a new room and if you're acting the same way and then all of a sudden now you're that person. Like I feel like you can definitely pick, because in your same sense, like in my
True.
opinion, I feel like I can tell sometimes if someone doesn't have social awareness or something,
Mm-hmm.
but no one tells it to me, so like you can't tell. So how do you know
Right.
if sometimes like sometimes you know. Like we're at a certain point in life where sometimes you can know with certain obvious people, but like you're saying, I mean, it's a hazy
They
feeling.
are
You're like not smart enough to know they're not smart.
to not know there's not smart.
Yeah. Self-awareness.
What?
That's failure in self-awareness. That's what it is.
That's
Self-awareness is
crazy.
bad.
30% of
Yeah.
people out there aren't just self-aware of what they're doing.
But I mean, on another hand, it's kind of like, it's almost a gift in a sense, because it's like, man, like I think
That's
I'm
true.
just so great, like, and they don't even understand like how
Like where it's
great
just
they are.
comedy.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's how I watch it. Like I'll be watching a basketball game, middle school basketball game, and all of a sudden it looks like theater out there because they're not playing basketball. It's the same way where sometimes you can look at someone, like try and explain them, and this is almost sounds bad because you don't want to come off as like, you know, better than thou or whatever. But it's like you can look at someone and be like, you believe what you're saying?
Right.
Like you believe what you're saying.
But-
I don't believe what you're saying at all.
Yeah.
So
I
you-
know you don't. Like,
But it's interesting, Miguel. You said sometimes you think it's a benefit. I don't
Yeah.
know, man.
no, because benefit for the 70, right? For the
No.
or for
No,
the-
he was
that
saying
person.
he was saying for the
For that
30%.
Oh, for the person, because
And I
they're
was
just
like,
like, oh,
really?
you're like the whole ignorance is
Yeah,
bliss. Like I
yeah,
don't
exactly,
even. Yeah,
exactly.
No, I would not want to live like that. But I see what he's saying.
Yeah. I mean, for them.
If you
but,
had the option, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like some people, you know, kind of. I mean, there's different stages of knowing.
Hey, that
like,
that book is gonna change me though. We're gonna identify those people and we're gonna look at each other and be like, he's a
It
DK.
was us the whole time.
That was
dude.
a Dunning.
Yeah, or we're gonna look at
That-
each other a little bit from now, and we're gonna be like, yo, we were DKs the whole time.
we're the
That's
we're the DKs here.
Yeah.
But
That's
no, I wanted
hilarious.
to point it out that I thought that was crazy. I was like, no way, I can't believe she just put that out there. But
Yeah, bro.
super crazy.
Dude, so reading this book, and we got a little bit of it honestly with the book that we read last, which was Chris Paul's autobiography, and just kind of taking it because since it was about his papa, it was kind of based in like 20, 30 years ago, you know, that kind of time period.
We can't
This,
even say 20, 30 years ago. Wouldn't it be a little bit, well, his grandfather's era would be
Right.
further back.
Right. Even
But
further
him
than that, it'd be
growing
more.
up.
Yeah.
Okay,
But,
yeah,
But
sorry.
I'm thinking like just from the time frame
Yes.
because way back when
Mhm.
they talk about in this chapter like you're having to realize all of these, whether it be anxiety, depression, stuff like that. So like you couldn't even the same way with like they're undergoing name changes. You couldn't even accurately like describe like what some of these people were feeling and stuff like that, and you wouldn't be able to get help, like the help that you would
Right.
need and stuff like that, because it would just be talking about something that wasn't
Mhm.
even that popular. I thought it was crazy on the top of page 11. They were talking about some of the statistics, and they said they even did studies, like well-designed, rigorous studies that are like they're not getting studies done to even do more research on this. And they said imposter syndrome is widely discussed in pop culture, with nearly 25 million results in Google search. Reputable research databases like PubMed return only about 150 results. And then it says like, and a lot of the results have been simplified to look like correlational designs, teaching you like nothing and leaving a bunch of people, leaving out prevalence rates altogether. So it's like they'll make it look like and you know there is seasonal depression, but they'll make it look like, you know, just because it's cold. And they have examples in the book, like it's cold outside, so that's why people get more depressed this time of year. Whenever there's actually something else that's going on that's
Yeah.
making, and you're just trying to kind of rub that off. So I thought that they eventually went on to say imposter syndrome has been reported to correlate with certain mood states and personality traits. However, as in the ice cream example above, these correlations give you very little about potentially an open door and inaccurate interpretations and like assumptions. So I mean, I do feel like reading this book, there's a lot to still be done. Like there's a lot that hasn't been done.
Yeah, there's a lot of
in the field.
Exactly what causes it.
Because in the end, and it should almost be that way, maybe to a point, because it's not like life or death necessarily. It's like just trying to help people help people be better. You know,
Yeah.
it's like not like imposter disease or imposter, you know, cancer. It's like imposter syndrome. It's a feeling that you're trying to work through. So I mean, and if you're dealing with it, it's going to be especially close to you.
On page 12, I thought it was very interesting on how men and women, she pointed out in a study, can have different feedback on how imposter syndrome affects them. Like how men with imposter symptoms who have been socialized to be competent and independent react poorly when confronted with negative feedback, displaying higher anxiety, lower effort, poor performance when held accountable to higher authority, while with women who have imposter feelings have been socialized to be communal, demonstrated better effort and performance upon receiving negative feedback. So it's almost inverse, which was interesting too.
For sure.
And then I think she kind of goes into why the term changed from imposter phenomenon to imposter syndrome, which I thought was interesting, because I guess one of the main reasons why her argument is the argument against using the term imposter syndrome is that it places blame on individuals without accounting for cultural context, and the focus becomes fixing individuals rather than fixing systems. And I think honestly she might be onto something about that, where it's really about the upbringing of your childhood and stuff like that. That really affects how you deal with, you know, your imposterism.
No doubt.
But,
and then she even goes on to say on 17 about how once you're like dealing with it, it's kind of like, I would guess you would say it's kind of like anxiety and depression and stuff like that. It doesn't go away. So it says there's no arrivals at like, I did it, I'm a legitimate professional with zero doubts about my ability to perform well, to be taken seriously, or pass everyone else's sniff test. There's only showing up to work because doing so matters to you. The more something matters to you, the more you are apt to worry about being good at it. So it's like, it's that whole thing where it's like, oh, you know, I'm not an alcoholic anymore. It's like, you ask I would imagine, like, if you go up and ask an alcoholic, like, when's the last time you wanted to drink? It wasn't the last time they drank. Yeah. It was somewhere in between, and they just didn't, you know? So it's like, you're still going to fight. It's like, oh my gosh, he's cured. It's like, he's living, you know, cured, but he's fighting demons.
Right. He's fighting it every day.
Battles.
Yeah.
Hopefully not every day, right? Hopefully you get to a point where it's once a month, once a year. Yeah. Whatever the best would be for you, but yeah.
And then her talking about the early life experiences, she was saying that her parents called her Tubby, like Tubby 2x4. That was funny to me, but I mean, it's in context, it was a bad situation because, but yeah, it's interesting to see like how stuff early on really affects you. Like, I've told you guys this before, but like growing up, I think now that I'm older, just being able to look back at my experiences and like understanding what happened here is like really affecting me now. And like, bro, even recently there was a situation, and my fiance tells me, like, she was hanging out with my mom, and she's like, your mom does this, this, and this, and I'm just like, wow, like that's annoying. And then she's like, yeah, but you do this, this, and this too. And I'm just like, oh, wow. And literally, bro, these last couple weeks, I've just been thinking about these certain things. And I'm like, I really do get that from my mom, because, I mean, that was my example growing up. And then having her talk about this in the book, and how her being called Tubby and like wanting to like be at a specific standard, even though her parents were calling her that out of love, it was just, it still affected her in a way that you would actually kind of need therapy, because you have to sort that thing out. And I mean, if you don't have the necessary help, then you wouldn't be able to understand like, okay, I wanted to please my parents, which turned me into a people pleaser, which made me feel inadequate whenever people didn't enjoy what I was doing. And that just overall just gave me this imposterism feeling that I have now. So,
And it's honestly a good time to be, actually analyzing and looking at this stuff like that, especially for you, because
Mhm.
I watched this podcast the other day, and your point as to like, and it was even made very known in the Chris Paul book about like how impressionable you are at that young age and how it impacts you. I was listening to this podcast the other day where it's like, obviously whenever you're a kid, you're growing until what, 18, 20, whatever. Your personality is almost fully formed by 4 years old.
Really?
Your personality. So, I mean, take that however you want. So your personality is going to be the most impressionable for those first 4 years. And I think that, I mean, you could almost, 4-year-olds have a personality. You'll have a
They do.
shy,
Oh, yeah,
you'll
yeah,
have a
yeah.
shy 4-year-old. You'll have a happy, a mad.
Yeah.
And then check that kid 10 years later. I don't know. I haven't done all the research and I can't remember that far back, but it's like, it might make sense.
Oh, I'm
like,
sure.
I think
I'm
my
sure if you ask
4-year-old
your
friends,
parents, you'd
I'm
be
pretty
like,
sure my
yeah,
4-year-old
that's-
friends were my 8-year-old
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
And my 12-year-old friend, like that, because eventually you start to be, who do you like, who's like me, and stuff like that. So I mean, just something to consider. Like, I mean, really, just it's almost like, if I don't know, you hate to put it this way, we do all the work super early, care for them, love for them, invest them. They might take care of themselves.
Yeah.
You've seen kids take care of parents.
Yeah.
Come on.
Definitely.
So like, you really invest in them, take care of them, and you can. Now the converse side is you've seen great parents still have some kids that struggle and go down the wrong path. But it was just something I heard and I'd seen, and it's like those early years. We're
It's
all getting to that
super
stage now
crucial.
where it's like
Yeah.
about to start for us, where it's just something that
That's gonna be
it's good to consider.
super crucial years.
Yeah.
Very crucial years. I hear that from even the therapy side too.
because it's honestly like the hardest time to take care of them, but the time that you need to like probably be the most patient and whatever with them,
Yeah.
with kids. So,
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
and this
But-
coming from 3 dudes that are never around kids. So, like,
Right.
dude, it's like you can
These
definitely
books, though.
tell, dude. Yeah, I
These
feel like you can
books.
definitely tell.
But all right, moving on. Chapter 2, I'd say, unless anyone has anything for chapter 1. I do want to point out, I do like how she does recaps.
Yeah.
It's really nice recaps and like the work to do and stuff like that. That's really nice. She does that at
do like
at
that.
the end of every chapter, and then I'm sure you like landing the quotes at the beginning of every chapter too.
Right. Yeah.
You like that
those are
for
nice.
the Chris Paul ones? You were like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
love
dude, I
that
got this
quote."
one highlighted.
I knew you would.
Yeah.
But
Ye-
there you go.
Okay, yeah. So for chapter 2, it goes on to I'll do it since I got the quote. It says, "What type of imposter are you?" For chapter 2, the quote of it is, "Have no fear of perfection, you'll never reach it." By Salvador Dali. I like that.
Golly.
Have no fear of perfection, you'll never reach it. I mean, and
That's so
there's
true.
something so calming, but it also like, to me, right? It's however you read it, but for me, it immediately takes all the nerves, brings my heart rate down, but makes me want to be like, oh, perfection's almost more attainable now,
Mhm.
because like I'm not going to be as nervous about, whatever. I'm just going to be so fully focused on just doing whatever it is. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
how that's all.
I see it the way like you can always improve. Then
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can always improve. You're never gonna be perfect.
Someone
but you can
says someone
get as
says you're
close as
not, and then
possible.
in the same way, someone says you're not perfect. Yeah, not trying to be. I can't be. You're not
Yeah,
either. Like the
yeah.
whole type of stuff like that.
But moving on. Yeah. What type of imposters are you? I think we identify them in a couple pages. Page 24. She says there are 5 subtypes of imposterism. You have the expert, the perfectionist, the soloist, the natural genius, and the superhuman. So, do we guys want to break down those 5? Is that what we want to do? And then
We can
Yeah.
do it quick because I
Okay.
actually did
Yeah, yeah.
highlight like what each one is.
okay,
Mhm.
Just
Okay.
to make it quick.
you can start us off.
So first off, for the expert, it says expert imposters believe their competence is measured by how much knowledge, skill, expertise, and experience they have, and they never feel they have quite enough. And then it rolls over to the end. I said, fill the expert's cup up with knowledge. Only this cup has a. It said you can fill the expert's cup up with knowledge. Only this cup has a hole in its bottom, and no matter how much is poured into it, the cup is never topped off.
Dude,
I wrote,
I know people
"Sheesh."
of that. Yeah.
I wrote, sheesh.
Where they're just like always just needing to know,
Something
learn, and
new.
stuff like
Yeah.
that, and never acting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
That was the expert. Do you want to roll the perfectionist? Do you want me to go?
You can. I don't have them highlighted.
Okay, so I got
Yeah,
because
yeah.
this highlights that's why I did it. This highlights like middle of 27.
Mhm.
So perfectionist imposters have a laser focus on one thing, getting things done flawlessly. They believe nothing short of perfection is acceptable, and they must deliver an unblemished product or performance at all times. Perfectionist imposters are convinced there is a right and wrong way to do everything, and they can sometimes be as critical of others who fail to measure up to their high standards as they are of themselves. They struggle to delegate tasks and avoid new challenging tasks are some of the other points for the what was this for? This was for the
Perfectionist.
perfectionist.
Yeah.
So there's that one. The third type is the soloist. For the soloist imposter, to be competent means being able to succeed without any help from others. The accomplishments count only if they're achieved on one's own. Soloist imposters can struggle with collaboration because goals they meet as part of a team diminish their feelings of success. When the soloist imposter manages to succeed on their own, they rarely feel satisfied or accomplished, instead thinking they got away with the secret, that they're actually barely managing to keep it together.
That's a crazy one.
Yeah, it
The
is.
That's a crazy
soloist.
one.
Yeah.
The soloist. Then we move on to left. This is the natural genius. The natural genius imposter believes that intelligence and ability are innate qualities that lead to effortless success. For a natural genius, competence means being able to excel with ease and speed. Natural genius imposters believe they should be able to hear or learn things at once and understand them completely. According to Valerie Young, a psychologist who identified the 5 subtypes. Oh, ready for the superhuman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
The superhuman.
Mhm.
According to Valerie Young, the psychologist who identified the 5 subtypes, the superhuman is the perfectionist, the natural genius, and the soloist on steroids. Superhuman imposters believe that competence means being able to juggle all the balls, even if the balls are on fire, while also balancing on a unicycle, singing show tunes, and smiling. How expertly the balls are juggled definitely matters. That's the perfectionist part. But being able to handle all the things all the time is what distinguishes the superhuman from other imposter subtypes. That is all 5 of our subtypes for imposters.
Yeah.
That's the 5 of them. You got the natural genius, the superhuman, the soloist, the perfectionist, and the expert.
Yeah.
So that's the 5 that we were looking at. That's basically what this chapter was. And then it brings you on, I don't know if you guys did this, but it brings you to a quiz where it
Mhm.
actually has you test, you have the option to test and see what your most likely imposter syndrome would be.
I'm doing the test right now.
So Chase is actually taking
Really?
the test right now. Have you taken
Wow.
this
I
test?
didn't take it, bro. I was thinking about it too. I'm like, I should probably do it. real
Okay,
quick.
so
Here.
I would recommend you to do it, and you don't gotta do it.
I want to do it because I want to read. I want to read them
Mhm.
what the questions are, so
Oh,
so
okay,
our
okay.
readers at home can take the test if they don't want to do it.
Right, because I mean, honestly, if you just want to pull it up and just answer the questions, because
Yeah, what
it's
is
got
it?
like
Jill
20
Stoddard.
questions.
Does
Yeah.
it give you the results? Of
It gives
like,
you the results
if you did
immediately.
that
It gives
or
you all
no?
5. It tells
Okay,
you what
okay.
percentage you're the most
Okay.
of.
So first one is for the quiz. Is there is a right and wrong way to do things?
Oh wait, you want to do the whole quiz for these people?
Yeah.
It's like 30 questions.
Okay. That's gonna take 2
It's
seconds.
gonna be a minute. Wait,
You think?
so you're just gonna? I don't know. It's up to you. You
Trick
can do it.
question.
Be a
Right,
couple minutes. Just go
so
ahead.
the options are very much agree, somewhat disagree,
You do this while I go get that.
Yeah, yeah.
and very much disagree. There is a right way. Yeah, Miguel and I will do this mentally.
Yes, yes.
So I'll just tell you, and then you can write down your things. Or here, unless you want to pull it up.
Yeah, I'm about to.
Here, let me see if I can.
Our security.
Let me see if I can text you the. Let me text you. Let me see if I can text you this link, so you don't have to put in anything. All right, see if that works.
Let's see what we got.
Does that work?
Yeah, it should be working. Let me see. Click the link. Here we go. Okay, there we go.
All right. All right.
Yeah. Let's see.
Question 1. There's a right and wrong way to do things.
I agree.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We want to say our options. I said somewhat agree.
Okay.
If I were really competent, I would know everything there is to know.
I'm gonna go somewhat.
Yeah, I'm gonna go somewhat disagree. I'm gonna say somewhat disagree
God,
on
you're
that one.
taking this thing live.
I should be able to excel with minimal effort.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, very much disagree.
Yeah.
You guys are giving your answers out loud.
I should be able to juggle multiple roles masterfully.
Chase, you go silent and you read the questions out loud.
Okay.
I feel like if you guys give
Okay.
your answers up, it's going to be collusion.
Any sort of boost from outside source diminishes my senses of competence. Example, someone puts in a good word for me being a legacy student, being a diversity hire.
Disagree on that. Somewhat.
If I were really smart, I would understand and remember everything I read or consume.
These are tough.
You got that one?
Yeah. I'm just.
You
You
was
could just keep
serping on
reading
the
them off.
mic, man. I heard you.
I was giving him a break from this lecture.
Even when I do well, I feel I could have done better.
Just run through them, Chase.
Ready?
Yeah. we
I
can run
believe
through 'em.
truly intelligent people shouldn't need help.
Mm-mm.
I should know a topic inside and out before speaking up or offering an opinion. I should know without being taught. Truly competent people are able to do it with all minimal stress. I often feel the need to read one more book, take one more course, or get one more degree in order to achieve adequate knowledge or expertise. My work and ideas should be totally new and original. If I were really smart, I would understand things the first time I hear them. Nothing short of perfect is acceptable. If I am competent, I will be able to do everything myself. I often think I should be able to handle more. People either have it or they don't.
That's an interesting one.
Facts.
Honestly, I'm gonna put very much
Put
agree
it
on
on,
that.
put it on a shirt. They
Same.
got it or they don't. Bunch of DKs.
A bunch of GKs. I feel bad about myself when I turn down opportunities. I should deliver an embellished performance 100% of the time. Embellished.
Unblemished. I think.
Unblemished. Oh.
Is it blemished?
Unblemished.
Okay.
Unblemished. Yeah, there you go. Landon took the quiz.
It sounded close. I was like, I don't
Before-
think blemished. is a
Before
word.
I put myself out there, I needed to, and before I put myself out there, I need in-depth education, training, knowledge, and experience.
You got to be getting close. I think it's getting close. Now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I often feel guilty for not contributing more. I should be able to pick up things easily. It's better not to do something at all if I'm going to come up short. The only accomplishments that count are the only achievements that count are those I accomplish on my own. All right.
I'm a perfectionist.
You're a perfectionist?
Okay,
Yeah.
the results are in.
I am a perfectionist.
I am a perfectionist as well.
What's
What
your-
percentage?
Yeah, what's your percentage
I
types?
think mine's like. All right, so it's
Yeah, you go first. Give us your lowdown, then you go, and then I'll go because I wrote mine down.
you wrote yours down?
25% perfectionist,
Okay.
25% the expert,
Okay.
19.4% superhuman, 19.4 natural genius, and 11% soloist.
Mine
Not the
was
slowest at all.
29.2 perfectionist, 20% superhuman, 20% natural genius, 60% soloist, and 12% expert.
12% expert.
Nice.
Mine was 29.9% natural genius,
Mm.
24.3% perfectionist, 21.6% superhuman, 18.9% expert, and 5.4% soloist.
There you go, guys.
Nice.
Cool quiz.
That was useful too because whatever you are, you can kind of
Yeah.
look through it. That's what I was telling you. Like
I
look
totally
through it through
forgot
the
what it
lens
was
of it.
again.
Look
Oh,
through it through the lens of it.
Perfectionist. That's right.
Yeah, through the lens of it while you're reading the book.
Yeah.
That's
All right. Moving on. Chapter 3. I think this is the last chapter. Chapter 3. There is no cure, but there is an alternative. Do you got the quote?
I didn't highlight it this time, but I should have because Maya Angelou
Yep.
has
Again,
been We're getting to the point where we're getting reused quotes.
2 books.
This is a different book.
Same
Maya
quote?
Angelou. No.
No,
Oh.
just
The
a
same
Oh,
person
same
getting a
person?
quote
Yes.
drawn from
Dang,
him. I was like,
dude.
you remember Maya Angelou? He's done Maya Angelou.
yeah, as a quote
It's
of the day.
crazy.
Yep.
As a quote of the day.
Wow.
And now it's making it into the book. But yeah, okay, fair enough. The quote is, "I have written 11 books, but each time I think, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everybody, and they're going to find me out." Just talking about
Wow.
basically how even the most successful people, back from what I was saying, still have that imposter feeling,
Wow.
is what they say.
Yeah.
Crazy. From the wise Maya Angelou, sharing stuff like that, it's got to make you feel like everybody's going through it. Just not everybody has it broadcasted, especially like famous people too, unless it's bad stuff.
Yeah.
You do get that broadcasted.
The only things I highlighted
just made it look so good.
really,
What's up?
the only things I really highlighted was on like about how still the correlate or not, I guess the correlation, even though she doesn't believe in correlation, but is the imposterism is common among high achieving individuals and maybe even correlated with success. The irony is the more we achieve, the more we may be prone to experiencing imposterism. The higher with the climb, the more we're expected to know. If you never run an organization, you're allowed to not know everything about being its president. But if you are the head person in charge, you better be up to speed. Success only makes it worse because now you have a reputation to defend.
It's kind of like a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So I mean, I don't even know that there's a second option. Like if you don't, if
Right,
you,
you
like
just, like,
depending on what your career
You
is,
just have
other
to
than
deal with it.
yeah, like if you really want to be the best pianist ever, like a great piano player, you're gonna have to deal with the fame, or you have to keep your light, dim. Like you got to just be a local superstar, like just play at the bar. But if you're that good and you want to be the best piano player, and like the stuff that comes, the stuff that comes with stuff.
I always think that's super crazy. Is like there's people out there that are probably better than some of the superstars
They
out
don't
there
want the fame.
that just don't want the fame.
You believe that's crazy.
100%.
Yeah,
The odds are in their favor.
I guess that's true.
You
It's
know?
never thought about.
Never
by
thought
me.
about.
Not by me.
You're talking. You can pull up and some guy on pickup and be like, "Yo, this guy should be in the league."
Hey, man.
I mean, it's the same way we've talked
It's
about that Netflix doc with the one guy. I forget his name, like Matt Ryan or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
That was
supposed to be super.
supposed to
stellar.
be like literally the next. I don't even know. Probably he seemed like a shooter too. I guess he was like Steph Curry. I don't know, but something happened and didn't end up working out. He
what
was a
ifs?
hothead and
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
So like, yeah, it's crazy. I did have a highlight on 37. It says she's kind of talking about like one of these interviews that she did, and she says during the interview of like one of these podcasts that she was doing, one of the podcast hosts was asking about 30% of the population who do not experience imposterism, and she joked that Donald Trump was a perfect example, like just trying to make it, and once she went back and listened to it, they cut the part about Trump, and rationally they just wanted to make sure the listeners weren't offended. You can get that, but I thought it just made me think like it would be kind of tough, like in certain businesses, to know when it's appropriate to let your personality show. Like how is this gonna land? That's why I hear people talk like stand-up comedians are like some of the most well-respected people, because who is willing to get up there and just off the cuff, you got to make 80 strangers laugh, 5,000 strangers laugh.
Yeah.
You got to make them laugh off a stand. Like I'm talking stand-up. You got comedy routines. You're a well-known funny guy. That's one thing. But like stand-up comedians, they got to walk in there and just certain things, because like how do you know what's gonna hit and different stuff? It's the same way I feel like obviously in your everyday interactions, like how much do you tell people about who you are and stuff like that, who you really are. But yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That was a little interesting point right there, but that was one of my last main highlights.
Yeah, I liked how that, because like that was all a perspective thing. She was internalizing it like it was her fault, but in reality, it was just a protection of a political thing that the podcast owners didn't want out there.
And you never know how people are gonna interpret it.
Yeah.
Because like this guy who I just said from the podcast that I was watching, he just had some like he went on someone's show, then literally right after the podcast came out, had some claims come out like from like 20 years ago about a sexual assault, and they took the podcast down. Yeah. Even after they went out there, just like and he was like, these claims are false, and I'm in the process of getting them taken down right now. It's gonna be no big deal, but like, then it's how each person feels in that scenario. They're just protecting themselves, or are they like, oh, what's going on? Like,
That's rough.
it's crazy.
That's why I think at the end of the day, I believe that like you just got to put everything out there.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, right. Like if
it's,
you,
you know,
if it
like
can get you.
for instance, like that Trump joke she made, like even though I'm sure people are not going to agree with that joke, but she should still, that person, that whoever owned that podcast should still put it out there because it was said.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what
Yeah.
you think.
Yeah.
That's your opinion from that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That like
I agree.
it's all raw and like that. Hey, if that was a joke, even if it was a joke and she meant it as a joke, but
You don't think you'd be worried about the blowback?
I don't think so because I mean you say what you say, and as long as you back up your claims, even if it is a joke, and you say it's a joke and it's not your intention,
Yeah.
you know, you can always say like your
Jokes are
apology
only
and
funny
stuff
when
like
they're
that.
funny.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
I see
If
what you're
one
saying.
person
I see.
thinks it's a
I'm more
joke,
so
you know?
just curious. I'm more so just curious about what you saying what you would do.
No, I
in
think-
that
That's
case,
interesting. In that case,
if
it's
someone made
pretty
like a
mild, right?
political
It's-
thing
it's
like
a-
that, I would probably still run it.
Yeah,
Like
probably.
I wouldn't pull it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like yeah.
Especially if you're not a political.
The only thing would
I guess
probably
that
be
would-
like
what would
violence or something like that.
If you're not a political platform too, like it has even less merit because people are gonna see that, and everyone watching your channel, if you don't heavily invest in politics, they're not gonna be there for politics.
Right.
Most hopefully.
Right.
You would hope.
But I could see why though. Like politics do get messy.
Yeah.
The charts were kind of cool that they put there,
Yeah, it was
just
literally,
for like the cycles and stuff like that.
the five
for
people. Yeah, the
the-
5 types.
understanding kind of the thought process that goes into it.
Yeah.
Dude, I identified really like, so I was be honest, I was reading them and I was like, I don't know which one of these I really am. And then I took the test and I was like, oh, I'm definitely that one. Like that's
natural
the
genius.
natural, like the
Genius.
natural genius imposter. Like I just immediately identified with it. Just even whenever I was reading like certain stuff like this, but I thought that was like a cool kind of visual aid.
I
to-
think it makes so much sense because you've talked about this before. Like,
Yeah.
About
even-
what?
He has.
yeah, like
And,
even
like,
saying you will pick something up or you'll hesitate to pick something up because you know you're not good at it.
Oh, okay. Maybe
With,
if
yeah,
I have
with
said
golfing,
that.
bro, with golfing, you've said this
Yes.
before.
That's true.
You're
Wait,
like,
wait,
bro, I've
golf.
hesitated. I've hesitated to try it out because I know I'm not good at it yet.
Yeah, and honestly, and it's a sport. Like, so with most
Yes.
other sports, I can literally, like, my dexterity, I can just play them. Like,
Mhm.
my body, I can throw a football, I can throw a baseball, I can shoot a basketball. Like, I can do the movements. I don't look fish out of water really in
Right.
anything except for golf.
Yeah.
And it's like such a weird sport, but
It's a
like
lot of
that is a
people, though.
that is a good point that I probably have.
That's true. Oh, yeah, like the golf thing. Yeah, I definitely could see that.
And there's probably been others, but yeah, no, that's funny that you actually identified that.
Yeah, bro. The
Um,
natural genius.
I thought it was
Okay.
really interesting back on.
Imposter,
40.
don't forget about that.
What was that?
He said natural genius. I said don't forget imposter. Natural genius imposter.
I thought it was really interesting how the concept of negative and positive reinforcements they were talking about
Dude,
with their
right?
kids. I was like, what? She says, to begin, I want to clarify the common misconceptions about terms, especially the term negative reinforcement. I often hear people referring a parent yelling at a kid as an example of negative reinforcement. As in, he yelled at his kid and made her act out more because negative attention is better than no attention. This is actually an example of positive reinforcement. The words positive and negative do not refer to pleasant and unpleasant, respectively. They indicate whether something is being added, positive, or taking away, negative. Reinforcement means the consequence that leads up to an increase in behavior. So an example above, if adding attention, even though it's angry yelling, increases unwanted behavior, and it is an example of positive reinforcement. I was like, I totally was one of those people. That's like such a backwards thought to me,
Yeah.
but it makes sense.
But it made so much sense,
It
right?
makes so much sense.
I feel like I was kind of the same way. Where it's like at first it felt backwards, and I was like, oh no, that makes too much sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
that, it's just the words and stuff
yeah,
like that.
and
The
she
way that
gave
she
a
phrased it,
a
though.
great example of like procrastination in the exact same
Oh
feeling.
my gosh, dude.
Yeah,
It
you want to
is.
read it?
Yeah, it's. I mean, where they
Yeah.
just talk about
Why do you?
one cycle
Yeah.
leading to another.
why do you procrastinate? For example, giving yourself permission to put off an adverse task removes negative feelings of dread or anxiety and that relief increases the likelihood reinforcement you will procrastinate again, and next time you will have an adverse task at hand. Of course, the removal of dread and anxiety is only temporary because you still have the same task waiting to be completed, possibly with less time to do. And if it's a task with a deadline, this ultimately increases dread and anxiety.
And the thing is, if you go back and look at the chart, and it's tough, right? And honestly, it's tough for me especially if you're trying to kick like bad habits and stuff. Is the bubble that shows up on there's 2 bubbles that show up on every single one. I temporarily feel better. I feel like a fraud.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what you do, if you enact that chain, that cycle that's going to lead to you putting something off, that's going to lead to you doing this or that, I temporarily feel better. The more I do, the more I feel like I have to prove myself for the perfectionist, whoever it is, the soloist, someone else gets credit, then all of a sudden I feel bad. You go back to I feel like a fraud. Like, it really is a lot of life. Okay, you know what? A lot of life is like keeping the temporary pleasures for like long-term gain, right? Not blowing all your money right now so you can do something down the line. And it's like a small example is like denying yourself momentary pleasure for like a bigger purpose. And that's what you got to do 20 times a day, however many times you feel bad, however many times you think about it, maybe less than that, but maybe more.
And then I thought was really interesting is then she flips the script and she breaks out a section. She goes, is imposterism really that bad or really so bad? And I thought that was just interesting because she says the cycles demonstrate that more we achieve or avoid, the more we need to achieve or avoid. Avoidance of new challenges has a clear downside. Growth is sacrifice and stagnation takes place. But stacking up accomplishments because we feel like imposters, is that really bad? And I'm like, it's a very interesting thought. And I've actually heard this in like another way of thinking it is like, which is funny because I'm putting it 2 and 2 together, is because there are these cycles, right? Like of either what type of subtype of imposter, but some people think of it as a cycle of like a never ending circle, or you could think of it as a never ending corkscrew. And instead of actually being in a circle, you think you're in a circle, but you're actually really achieving, you're growing, you're just circling up. And I thought that was really interesting how they came 2 and together. But so I thought that was an interesting take how she gives out 3 reasons. It can motivate us to work harder because we feel like we have something to prove. It can motivate us to work smarter because it causes us to have doubt and then rethink our strategies. It can make us better learners and leaders because doubt leads us to seek ideas and second opinions from others. And I was like, that was a very interesting take. And but did you guys have anything else? I have one more thing before 2 more things.
On 48, I did like where she was talking about psychological flexibility. And she was saying she was saying like it allows you to live a full-size life compared to a fun-size life is the analogy that she used. She goes, psychological flexibility refers to our ability to show up to each present moment fully, aware and open to all of our thoughts, emotion, physical sensations, and urges, and make conscious, deliberate decisions to do what deeply matters to us. So it actually flips over to the next page and it says, my phone's vibrating right now. It actually switches over to the next page and it says psychologically inflexible is what we are when we hide, running on autopilot in our comfort zones, or when we enact defense mechanisms. And then she goes on to say the comfort zone isn't so bad sometimes, but the comfort zone is never where the magic happens. It's certainly not the place where you grow. It's that whole like get out of your and that's the thing, right? I heard this guy talk about the other day. It's like if you don't try new things, you can't grow.
Yeah.
You can't grow. You'll just be doing the same thing over and over again. And it's a weird concept where it's just like, I mean, you might get better at what you're doing and stuff like that, but like you won't broaden your horizons. You'll be like, even in my like watching different lifestyles and how people grow up. Like I was on TikTok watching how this girl in like the Bahamas cleans out her kitchen, and it's just like by dumping a bucket of soapy water on this hard tile, and then they use a squeegee and it cleans it out and it looks brand new. But like that's not a thing here. You dumping water on your floor or what, like just how different like we really are.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I
Yeah.
only have one more highlight though. I don't know where you're at.
That's so funny though that you bring that up because that's what I highlighted too on 52. And remember, psychological flexibility is being aware and open to all internal experiences, fully without defense, meaning that we are in the business not of changing our experiences, but allowing them to be as they already are. So yeah, which I think also like the term psychological flexibility to me it just means like self-aware,
Yeah, being open-minded.
and that comes to being the 70% if you're not a DK.
Mm-hmm.
And but
I like that. I
Yeah.
have one more highlight on 50 if you basically wrapping it up.
I that's all I have. You guys
Yeah.
have the floor. If you guys have anything to go.
You got one you want to roll?
No, I'm good.
All right, so on 50, we'll kind of wrap with this since we're talking about the relation to everything. It says, that is, we humans are hardwired to overestimate threat and underestimate our ability to cope. This served as a useful function in prehistoric humans who had to outrun killer kangaroos, but it isn't so necessary in our modern age. Still, neuroimagining studies show that our brains light up and get active far more around negative emotions like fear, anger, disgust, and sadness than around positive ones like happiness. So I think it really is like, the way I would phrase it is, to win the war, you got to know what you're up against. So if you know that you're hardwired to be more like if you're just someone like, you want to know what would make me feel more negative if I was feeling bad? Man, why do I feel so negative all the time? Am I the only one that feels like this? And compared to like, oh, I'm like, man, I'm hardwired to feel negative. Get out of that. Like, try to get out of it. Like, that's what I would try and tell myself. But if I'm not reading, if I'm not understanding, I'm
Right.
going to be like, man, why am I negative right now? I mean, and not to say that it's always going to work. Like, you can flip a switch, but you at least know what you're up against. And I think that helps.
Yeah, or you get it to where like your your mental health where it's like you feel that no one else is going through that,
Mm-hmm.
and you feel like it's just you, and you're like something's wrong with you, but in reality everyone's feeling this. It's just how your ability to cope with it.
Yeah.
If you, which I think also brings and bridges the gap of self-awareness where you're like, well, oh, everyone is feeling this way. We're hardwired to feel this way. This is natural.
And
then
that's
bring
kind of what
down that
growing
stress,
up-
anxiety.
And that's kind of what growing up is realizing that a lot of people deal with the same stuff, but it happens at different stages.
Yeah.
Some people realize that at 7. Like, oh, we're like, and maybe it's almost false at that age, but it materializes into like them just having way better understanding. But if you do, because even like I believe certain things were a certain way as far as recent as months to days or whatever ago. Like if you're always uncovering new information, but that only happens, like she said, whenever you're trying to grow and not whenever you're trying to stay comfortable.
Yeah.
And she wraps the chapter. I thought this was important. She says, building, on the bottom of 52, building psychological flexibility is the entire purpose of this book. So I was like, probably something to take note of, like what it is. She's just trying to basically, like you said, get you the optimal level of functioning, whether that be increasing your self-awareness, increasing, working on whatever stuff it is. But
And that was it.
Yeah.
That was the first part, man. So now part 2. Page 57 to
it'd be roughly
again?
like 118-ish, 115-ish,
118 is a stopping point.
118?
Go with that.
Chapter 8.
Chapter 8, 118.
Boom.
All right, there we go. So we'll
Done.
read chapter 7. Read up to chapter 8.
Yes.
Read up to chapter 8.
There you go. Through
Write that
7
down.
up to 8.
I can't trust the way you say things, so I just write it down.
What do you put? Like big stop?
You just put end.
End? All right. Moving on now
Hardcover.
to our short snippets of the week. Who wants to go first?
I can deliver this quote
You give
real
the quote?
quick from our good friend and the legend himself.
Maya Angelou.
The most important thing is to try and inspire people so that they can be great in whatever they want to do.
Pause,
Let me
pause,
read
pause,
that one more
pause.
time.
I had that on a t-shirt.
Really?
Do you really?
Yeah. I mean, it's a famous
Go ahead.
person.
I already know who it is. Go
The
ahead.
most important thing is to try and inspire people so that they can be great in whatever they want to do. Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Right, whenever Kobe Bryant passed away, I got me and one of my friends who's a huge Kobe Bryant fan shirts that have Kobe Bryant with the 8 and 24 on the front holding the book.
Mhm.
And it says, heroes get remembered, legends never die. And then on the back it says, the most important thing is to try and inspire people to be the greatest that they can be, whatever, Kobe Bryant on the back.
Nice.
But yeah, that's crazy. You
It's a good
started
one.
reading that quote and I was like, I
Yeah,
was
bro.
like, I know. I was like, am I advancing in life? I know the quote, and then I was like, oh, it's Kobe Bryant, but still,
Am I advancing?
am I advancing in life? I know this quote.
It's a good one, man.
That's awesome.
All right,
Good
I'll
stuff.
go next. I got 2 fun facts for you. Fun fact
Go.
of the day number 1: in the iPhone calculator app, if you swipe left or right to delete the last number.
Wow.
Ooh, all right, let me see.
Are you serious? Wait. Whoa.
There you go.
Whoa.
Hey,
Learn
okay,
something new.
live.
Bro.
Fun fact of the day 2: we automatically perceive people who smell good as more attractive.
Oh, that's a
Makes
fact.
sense. Definitely makes
That's
sense.
a fact.
There you go.
I like that.
That's
Two
your
good
fun
facts.
facts of the day.
Yeah, you know what? You could do an iPhone fact every single week. I think that'd be cool because there's so many
That
so
was
many
me,
random
right?
things, you know.
Oh, like
Like a
had
oh,
no
like
idea.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
oh, like the calculator
yeah,
thing.
like the
Oh,
calculator.
oh
thing.
yeah,
Like you
dude,
can
there's
almost be
so
like,
many
hey,
things.
if you do this, it'll do this for your phone. And
That's
then,
like the-
okay. Here's a fun fact.
The Apple
That's
Watch
crazy.
thing. There's a hidden back button.
Yeah.
You hear that?
Really?
Where you go like this, you double tap your fingers,
Yeah.
and it's another hidden feature. You can double tap to do something on your phone.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a taptic feed. You have to turn it on or something.
He tried it.
Yeah,
He
he
tried
did.
it.
He
Well,
looked at
hey,
his
if
wrist and
we had 2 facts that we could real life try, but apparently you have to do something else.
yeah,
It's okay.
on that one you have to
That's
turn
so
it on.
funny.
Yeah,
I was like, let me see this.
yeah, it's like a
That's cool. That's
assistant
actually
thing.
kind of two facts along.
Yeah, like you can like answer your phone, like
With a
doing that
double
or
tap.
something.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, but that's it for me, Landon. What's our short snippet?
Okay, so our short snippet, our question of the day. I kind of floated it to you guys early. So since we're starting the imposter book and I am the natural
Genius.
genius
Natural
imposter,
genius.
I wanted to see what are some things in life that you guys have wanted to pick up and was just like, okay, that's tough. I don't know if I want to do that. Just anything you wanted to
The
try back. Oh, that's not as easy as
first-
not as easy as I thought it'd be.
The
not
first
gonna do that.
one was like being like a pro person that plays video games.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then like pro Fortnite.
And when was this?
This was early. So either playing Fortnite or I used to play this game called League of Legends.
League of
Okay.
Legends.
And yeah, man, you just really sit there and you think like obviously it was just a hobby.
You
But
were
like
at a point though where you were
felt-
like, am I legit
like,
good enough?
yeah, and then like you play against some of these kids and you just get mocked.
yeah.
And like I especially felt that in Fortnite. I was like, yo, man, people are making millions playing Fortnite.
It was crazy.
And then you're like, that's crazy. And then like you play against one and you're like, ain't no way I'm getting absolutely murdered here. And I would feel that. I would remember playing with Landon. You would know.
Mhm.
Kid would come up at you and like immediately
we were done.
you would know because like they would like we'd have them in their sights and you go and shoot and instead of like building a wall or protecting themselves, they come running at you and you're
Sprinting.
like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like this is not normal.
These kids know. They know. It's like they could smell it. Fresh meat.
Yeah.
bro.
So that was probably the first thing that came to mind was that.
I like that. All right, what about you?
I would have to say trying to play an instrument.
Really?
I tried to
Oh.
learn how to play the guitar when I was in like
Guitar's
third grade.
hard.
Yeah. And I'm
Gotcha.
over here thinking like, oh man, like this is gonna be a breeze. Like I feel my fingers are, flexible enough to be able to do all this stuff. And I was playing Rock Band and Guitar Hero a lot.
Oh,
And
that's a self.
yeah, just completely doesn't. I mean, it translates just a tiny bit because you have to like move around, but no, I could not do it. But that is one thing I don't know if I can even say that because one day I will learn how to play an instrument.
You
I
gonna,
don't
you
know
gonna
if it's
fight
gonna
through
be
it?
guitar,
Now it's funny
but-
you say that because both of us have played instruments all our lives.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Which would you recommend for Miguel to learn?
The easiest instrument to learn, you don't want to play something that is a wood instrument, I feel like. I
Okay.
feel like
Really? Like-
getting the sensation of like how you're supposed to use
Are
your
you talking
lips
about like brass?
on like a saxophone, on something
oh,
like
really?
that.
I was gonna
compared to-
suggest saxophone.
Well, there's a lot of buttons too, right? So if you said what would be the most simple one for me, and obviously I only played what do you call them with the instrument that has the buzz, that has the freaking wow.
Clarinet?
I'm sounding no, like trumpets and trombones and stuff like that has the mouthpiece where it's just, I forget what you call that type of mouthpiece, but
Brass.
whenever you blow into a brass mouthpiece or whatever, I feel like it's an easier thing to do
Really?
than to
I thought it
like
was super
and like
hard.
trumpets only have a few buttons and stuff like
Interesting. That's a
that.
different mindset.
But did you have braces?
Yeah.
Okay, so definitely do trumpet. It's way easier without braces and stuff because
Trumpet,
it's got like
okay.
a weird feel. Like you need that. You
Oh.
need
Yeah.
that solid
Yeah.
flat surface of your lips and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Because I remember playing.
Trumpet.
No, like the
Nice.
trumpet wasn't. Yeah, the trumpet wasn't too bad.
I think maybe piano would probably be the easiest.
I don't know.
Even though it has the most keys, but it only requires you to push on a key. I feel like with trumpet, you have to get the right dexterity of your mouth.
Yeah.
Dude, I do wish I could play more instruments, like where you didn't have to use like your mouth or something like that. Like,
Right? Like,
Like-
drums.
yeah, like drum. Like, oh, I can
That
play the
was-
drums. I can play the drums. But
I always wish I could. My dad can play drums.
dude, I'm not good, but like I can play the drums. I would say probably. I mean, saxophone if you're gonna go brass,
Well,
just be-
saxophone's not a brass.
or not brass if you're gonna go woodwind, because that is just like a cool that's a cool
Sax
instrument to
is-
play.
Yeah, it
It's a
is. It
cool
really
instrument.
is,
Like I
bro.
wish I could play it just to freestyle.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
I love
exactly.
music. Like that's why I like playing the bass guitar, but I wish I could play the actual guitar because like all I can play is bass lines to
Mm.
whatever my favorite song is, not like
Right. The
whatever-
actual
not like
melody
whatever-
and stuff.
yeah, like me and my brother would always play "Sweet Child of Mine," and I would just play the bass part, and he would play the actual down, 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 down. It was fun.
But
Yeah, bro.
I don't know. I
Piano, I
honestly
mean-
would probably do like piano
I might.
because then you can do it all.
Yeah.
You can
That's
do
what they say.
You
Yeah,
can
if
do
you master
anything. You
the-
can do the entire song.
Yes.
But I don't know how hard.
I need to
piano
get
is.
a keyboard.
Piano kind of matters if you have small hands.
Yeah.
It's very
my
tough.
hands are.
How
look
big is
very
your hand
small.
compared to mine?
And my hands are shot too. Like.
No, it's about the same size. I
good.
don't have small hands. I have like my hands are bigger than my older brother, and I feel so bad because he's an amazing piano player, but like he's limited in like
Can't
his
do the-
range,
yeah.
so he has to almost work harder. But he's still like an amazing piano player. So like your hand size is only a portion of it. It just is like
I'm gonna learn that.
if you're a
go.
taller pitcher, it helps.
I'm gonna buy one of those MetaQuest things, and then just
Oh, there you
play on
go.
the desk.
That'd
and
be
just
sick.
Learn on the desk.
There you go.
That would be dope.
All right.
All right,
Well,
guys.
that's going to have to wrap it up for this episode, this part of the Imposter No More by Jill Stoddard book. And remember, guys, we are reading all the way up
118, I
to
got you.
There
page
it is.
117.
Hey, call it.
117, sure.
Reading to 117. But yes, so 117, guys. And thank you so much. If you guys want to read along, feel free to click the purchase link down below. A little affiliate. We'll make a little
We'll be off
commission.
next week.
We will be off next week, and we'll be back on the 3rd if we're going to keep it on Wednesdays.
So should
Yeah.
we double up or are we gonna?
Probably not, just because it's the holidays. Unless you guys want to.
I mean,
I'm down.
I don't know how.
we'll figure it out off air.
We'll figure it out off
Yeah.
air. Yeah, we won't. keep
It'll
it
be
going.
a surprise gift.
It'll be a surprise
whether
gift.
we
You guys
do it
just
or not.
read. You
Yeah,
guys just read.
Just read your book.
You might have some spoilers.
We're gonna get better at this.
Well, what is it? And what would it be if it was not 118?
This is the last major holiday
Yes.
for a minute.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't 118, what would we read to?
It would have to be up to like what one?
It'd be another about 60, so it'd be
Like
178, like
69.
180, 175.
Yeah, where's a good breaking point?
Is there a good 175 to
186.
Ooh, that's getting on the longer side.
Yeah.
Or 165. Because if we're gonna read a big bulk portion, we probably want to take the underside of it anyways,
Okay.
than the
Sure.
longer side.
All right. Well, are you guys down? We might as well just commit to it then.
Go up to 165, 164.
Let's do it. Chapter
Let's
11.
do it.
Okay.
We'll be back in 2 Mondays.
2 weeks. We're going from page 57 all the way up to 165, but it is 2 weeks worth. So, guys,
Yeah.
don't feel discouraged. We're not going to read it all in 1 week. It's
Okay.
not. It's not like the
Some
other
of us
book.
might.
It's not like the 48 Laws of Power. Are you going to really read it in 1 week?
No, I'm not.
Oh,
bro.
man,
I'm
that
gonna
was
He
a-
try
said
my
not us.
hardest not to
He
do
said some
that.
of us, not me.
There you go. But
That's
all
fine.
right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time. Peace.